And it was only a few weeks ago that WWE were teasing JD McDonough as the 5th member of the Judgment Day, joining Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, and Dominic Mysterio. Balor especially was seen talking with his fellow Irishman, with McDonough's recruitment all but guaranteed, but fans haven't seen much of McDonough in quite some time. According to WRKD Wrestling, plans for the Irish Ace to join the Judgment Day have been put on hold for the time being, though there's no confirmation as to the reason for this pause. McDonough hasn't competed on Raw in close to 2 months now, and he has instead been working on WWE Main Event and lost to Apollo Crews during the latest taping. While it's said that plans have been put on pause, there's no shortage of examples of WWE pausing plans they eventually scrap, with many superstars learning about that firsthand. As to whether McDonough joins the Judgment Day, only time will tell, but for now, don't expect to see him become the group's 5th member just yet. Now, this week's Raw marked the end of Liv Morgan's 3rd reign as Women's Tag Team Champion, and fans should not be expecting a rematch from her anytime soon. According to sources at the event, trainers were seen checking on Morgan during Raw, but WWE were able to keep this off camera. Not only was Morgan checked on during a spot in the match, but it was reported that she was seen exiting the show in a sling, in another setback for the young superstar. Morgan only recently returned to action after suffering a separated shoulder, an injury that forced her and Raquel Rodriguez to relinquish the women's tag titles earlier this year. That match also saw Dakota Kai suffer an ACL injury that's kept her on the shelf ever since, and she is expected to be out of action for anywhere between 6 months and a year. The finish of this week's match saw Morgan take a back-to-back unprettier from Chelsea Green, followed by a stiff knee strike, but given that she was checked on during the match, these moves didn't injure Liv. Details are still scarce as to the nature of Morgan's injury and when exactly it happened, but we'll keep following her situation, and we wish her all the best after this recent setback. At the Royal Rumble event in January, Sami Zayn received one of the loudest pops heard in years when he turned on Roman Reigns, ending his time with the Bloodline and turning face. What followed was Zayn challenging Reigns at Elimination Chamber, a match that fans were hopeful Sami would win, but those fans, like the crowd in Sami's native Canada, were disappointed. Instead, Reigns retained the undisputed WWE Universal title against Zayn, and it turns out that WWE really had no intentions of switching the titles so close to WrestleMania. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer stated that WWE never ever saw Zayn as a top guy, and chalked up his getting over to the degree that he did as a fluke. Meltzer said that WWE knew it wouldn't last, and while Sami remains popular with fans to this day, he's not got the same white-hot popularity with the crowd that he did just a few months ago. Sami would get the opportunity to headline WrestleMania Night 1, but not for Roman Reigns' coveted title, and while that was an emotional moment, WWE never thought for a second about doing anything bigger than that. It wasn't long after Bray Wyatt's return that the enigmatic Uncle Howdy emerged, a masked figure that fans thought for a while was Wyatt himself. When the pair appeared at the same time, speculation then pointed to Bray's brother Bo Dallas, but what exactly does Howdy look like beneath the mask? Well, thanks to WWE 2K23, we at least know what he looks like unmasked in the video game, as Twitter user Status shared this image of the unmasked Howdy. Of course, it is very unlikely that this is what the real Uncle Howdy looks like, as this is just a character in a video game, and WWE used a default face given that Howdy was never supposed to be unmasked in 2K23. It was believed for a while that Howdy would be unmasked on TV, but Bray's illness has nixed all plans for the character. Perhaps we'll one day see the face of the real Uncle Howdy on TV. Now, Seth Rollins is arguably the most popular he's ever been, and part of that popularity has come thanks to his current theme music. No matter if it's a WWE TV taping, live event, or premium live event, fans love singing along to Seth's theme, but what fans are hearing is different than Seth's first idea for the song. On the Impulsive podcast, Rollins said that originally the theme song was going to have Woahs as part of the track, but Vince McMahon just didn't get the idea. He explained, Vince McMahon was just hearing it for the first or second time, and he actually took a set of the Woahs out. He didn't get the Woahs. He was like, that's not Seth Rollins. That's not Seth freaking Rollins. While those Woahs were never put back in, the crowd have done the work for Rollins, and the Woahs from the crowd are usually the loudest chants of the night. With reports of Rollins going away after SummerSlam to get surgery, it may be a matter of weeks before those woes stop, but even if that's the case, Rollins' theme will remain popular despite McMahon's involvement. Over the years, AEW has hosted several former WWE superstars, with some as active members of its roster, while others have merely been guests at tapings. It's not uncommon to read reports of a veteran of the past going to an AEW event to say hi to old friends, but for Victoria, her recent experience at an AEW show may be her last. Speaking on her GAW-TV podcast, the former WWE Women's Champion spoke about being at an AEW show and was made to feel very uncomfortable when she was backstage. She said, "I went backstage to go find Sarah Stock. She goes, 'Are you gonna come back here to say hi to me?' I go, 'Can you meet me at the curtain?' I go, 'Oh no, all the new talent.' And then of course, when I went back there, I got the look like, what the is she doing here? Excuse my language. I felt uncomfortable. Only Mark Henry, Sarah, Christopher Daniels, and just the people that we knew, even some of the people that we knew in the past, they were like, 'Are you gonna watch the second show?' And I go, 'Let's go.' I felt very uncomfortable." This, unfortunately, isn't the only example for Victoria, who said in April that she was treated like shit backstage at a WWE event, which is believed to have been the 2021 Royal Rumble show. As a veteran of the ring, there's no reason for Victoria to be treated this way, and we can only hope that both companies reflect on these incidents before inviting her to any future events. When Bill Goldberg's contract with WWE expired, the Hall of Famer spoke about having one final match, which many believed would be happening this September. Goldberg has spoken about how much it would mean for him to compete in Israel, and with Global Pro Wrestling announcing an All-Stars Israel event that month, it was predicted that show would host his final match. While Goldberg wasn't announced for the event, several high-profile names including RVD, Sting, and Rikishi were, but that show is no longer taking place. In a statement, Global Pro Wrestling announced that the event will not be going ahead, stating that the promoter, All Stars Israel Stage Time, is in breach of contract on numerous fronts. It's claimed that All Stars did not deliver deposits to talent as stipulated in their contract, and Global Pro added that they hope that the show can be rescheduled, this time with reputable promoters. Goldberg may hope to have his final match in Israel, but it won't be happening this September, and we'll continue to follow this situation and see if this much longed for final match ever takes place. It's been 17 months since Cody Rhodes left AEW in order to return to WWE, but that doesn't mean that the American Nightmare burned his bridge with the All Elite promotion. In interviews, Rhodes and Tony Khan have spoke very highly of each other, and Rhodes' positive attitude with AEW extends to the EVPs of the company. Speaking to Sean Ross Sapp at the premiere of his American Nightmare documentary, Rhodes was asked about his relationship with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. Fightful reports, "For years there were questions and rumors regarding the nature of Cody Rhodes' friendship with Matt and Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega, particularly Cody not being involved in BTE and on-screen angles with the three for a large portion of his time at AEW. At the red carpet of Cody Rhodes' new Peacock documentary in Atlanta, Fightful was able to get some clarity on that. We asked if Cody still spoke with the Bucks, and without hesitation, Cody confirmed that he does fairly regularly. He said that without them graciously allowing BTE footage in his documentary, that it probably couldn't have happened. He said that even if he never shares a ring with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega again, they're bonded for life due to what they did together. The fact that footage from Being the Elite will be in the WWE documentary is huge, and shows just how highly WWE thinks of Cody to form an agreement with Omega and the Bucks. Cody often received mixed at best responses from AEW fans, in stark contrast to the cheers he receives from the WWE universe, but Rhodes will never, ever regret the work he did with AEW. As last year's All Out event proved, CM Punk can be a very divisive figure in wrestling, and for all the friends he has in the business, he likely has just as many enemies. Before making it to WWE, Punk worked briefly with TNA Wrestling, and this week, Paul London told the story of CM Punk's real-life fight with Teddy Hart. Speaking with Inside the Ropes, London recalled how Punk made some comments that Hart wasn't pleased with, leading to a showdown mere hours before a TNA show. He said, "Punk had said some smart comments or something, and Teddy Hart took him down, basically took him down to the ground and was pummeling him. And I think maybe Sabu pulled him off or something, but yeah, any version of that story you hear, it's never, yeah, Punk took Teddy down and got on top of him. That's not at all how any of the versions are." It sounds like Punk definitely got beaten in the encounter, and when Dutch Mantel recently spoke about the matter, he reiterated claims that Punk did not come out on top. While Punk lost this fight, he'd go on to become a millionaire, while Teddy Hart would go on to have issues with the law. But it seems nobody will forget Punk being taken down in the fight in 2004. We mentioned Teddy Hart has a long history of controversy to his name, and now the Hart Dungeon graduate has been arrested yet again. Ringside News were able to obtain police records revealing that on July 14th, Hart was taken into custody in Brevard County, Florida, on charges related to marijuana, steroids, and MDMA. The following day, he was released on community supervision by Judge Spiker, who revealed that Hart must make weekly check-in calls and may also be subjected to random drug testing. The youngest wrestler to ever sign a contract with WWE, Hart has a long history of run-ins with the law, which include arrest and charges related to drug possession, assault, animal cruelty, injuring a child, elderly, or disabled person, evading arrest with a vehicle, and possession of controlled substances. Hart's history of legal issues has been a subject of concern and controversy within the wrestling community, with a Peacock documentary released last year detailing his fall from grace. Teddy Hart has spent an extensive time behind bars due to his actions, and it's clear that he hasn't learned his lesson yet, and we'll keep following this worrying situation for further updates. Last year, Saraya's WWE career ended when the company decided not to re-sign her, and it would be mere months later that she'd sign with AEW. When Triple H took over as head of creative, he tried to win Saraya back by promising her the chance to wrestle, but that was something that some in WWE were vehemently against. Sitting down with Inside the Ropes, Saraya recalled trying to access records on her neck multiple times, but it wasn't WWE's management or Triple H who were shutting her down. At WWE, I asked to see my neck a few times, and the medical said that the book was closed on that, and they weren't going to keep checking on it, which was really disappointing. So if I wanted to check on my neck, it would have to come out of my own pocket. Her name was Stacy. That was her who said that, by the way. So it wasn't anything to do with like Hunter or anything, it was just that medical department, which I thought was a little unfair, but it's okay. Ultimately, Saraya was allowed to wrestle again, but is part of AEW, but is currently out of action with an injury. The hope right now is that Saraya will be able to wrestle it all in, as it'll mean a lot for her to wrestle in her native England, but it certainly appears that her days competing for WWE are well and truly over. Find out the WWE champion WWE is planning to write off of TV, and how WWE accidentally spoiled a major SummerSlam plan. Click the end screen or the link in the description for more details, and as always, thank you for watching.